You right there? How we all doing? Saturday afternoon now. Don't know what I picked up guitar, let's have it. Gonna go and do some stuff for the family, go and see my parents. They're about 50 miles away. Place called Wheelie in Essex. Anyway, didn't need to know that, but I thought I'd tell you anyway. Gonna stop off at the guitar shop on the way down. Peach Guitars, where they sell loads of guitars. Not gonna buy anything, I don't think. Might get a plectrum or a packet of strings. But I'm gonna have a look round before we go there, so the rest of the family have to sit in the car and wait. Go in now, 5 minutes. Feels like an hour, and then my wife would be going, "Where are you? We've been waiting here ages." I did ask them in, but they can't be bothered. So, anyway, talking about gigging. Gigging is a subject which can be talked about because, be it if you're a professional musician or an amateur, at some point you've got the urge to do a gig. Now, you can have a look at a gig as a bit of fun, yeah, if you've got your day job. You can go out in the evening and put a band together and get gigs quite easy because you're going to get out a lot cheaper than professional musicians. And the other side of the coin, you've got gigs where you're getting paid, a decent wage, hopefully, to play. But there's lots of pitfalls in that. And musicians do moan a lot about gigging, but sometimes I think they're their own worst enemy because, if you're not happy with a price, then really don't do it, because same with any industry, there's always going to be someone who's going to do it cheaper than you, and there's always going to be people who will be more expensive and will still get the gigs. So I'm going to talk about today gigs from the bottom all the way up to the top, and just a bit of info about the positives and the negatives for each one. So it might be something you're interested in, because it is a business at the end of the day, or it is or it isn't. If you're not earning money from it, then it's not a business, end of. And if you're moaning about the wage and you ain't got enough to live on, then you've got to do something else. But you can still gig and have fun. So we're going to talk about the positives and negatives of gigs right from the bottom. And I'm going to talk about other musicians who moan about people who get gigs and stuff as well, all the way up to the top. What kind of work you can do and what you can expect, or what you're expected to do for it. So first of all, let's start from the bottom. You've got a band together, it's your first band or whatever, you've just retired and you think, something I want to do, I want to put a band together. So you get together, you meet a group of guys, or it could be females as well, you have mixed bands, and you rehearse. You're set up in the studio week after week, and then you start thinking, oh, we need a gig, we want a gig. And then when you look into the reality of it, there's not that many gigs out there. There is and there isn't. What I mean by this, if you're a brand new band, it's very hard to break onto the circuit of even a pub or club place, because they have got probably their acts booked up a year in advance, and trying to get on the books is not easy. So these are good ways to do it. First of all, go to some jam nights where you may be able to get up with your whole band, so you start getting experience with that. You're not going to get paid for that, but what you are gaining is experience, and you can't expect to get paid for a gig really if you've got no experience. Or this is what a lot of musicians are going to hate, is offer your services for free maybe in a pub or something. Because let's be honest, when I was 15, I was earning money as a musician from the age of 13. 15, I was playing in clubs and earning a wage. But there were some places, there's a place where I lived called the Beckton Ski Slope. And in the 80s, it was called like the Yuppies. You'd get people skiing down there, and my mates my mate used to play keyboards and I used to play guitar. Basically, they had a bar, and on a Sunday afternoon, we would go in there and learn our songs and play for nothing. But we loved it. The people who owned the bar loved it, and we was getting experience, like to learn our craft, make mistakes on the gig. But the most important thing, it didn't matter if we went wrong because they wasn't paying us. So, if you're paying peanuts, expect monkeys. So we was getting experience from that. But then you get other musicians who maybe they're just like singers who sing along to backing tracks, get annoyed because their bread and butter, where they earn their money, is in these places. And so they feel like it's undermined, which it is. It's undermining their work because they're getting the less experienced people will jump in. But you get that with any game, don't you? Could be decorating or electric, I don't know, could be anything, building. So that is where you get them musicians not happy with the ones who get experience. But you need to get experience, right? So I just think it is what it is. Get on with it. You're going to get people who are going to do gigs for nothing, always, yeah? And good luck to them. They're going to have fun. They're going to enjoy it. You just got to find your other ways of earning your money. I've had to. It's the way it goes. So that is the first run of gigs. Offer your services for free. Maybe on a night where they're really quiet, It might bring in a few people from. You get to play and you will get experience. And then the more confident you get, they might offer you a gig at the weekend and then you can put up your fee. But even then, them next type of gigs up the run on the ladder, you're probably talking, I don't know. The problem is, right, this is where the next problem lies. So you got the people who sing along to the backing tracks, right? They're getting the ump with the people who are offering their service for nothing, yeah? Then the next stage up, this is where it gets, so you got the people who, singers, and good luck to them as well. You got to earn your living, yeah? So you got the singers who sing along to backing tracks, but then you got the bands who are competing now with that. Now, singer with backing tracks might earn £300 for the night, £350, but then the venue want to pay the band the same money as they say want to pay 5 people, the same fee as they pay 1. Now, because they've got a budget, and to be honest, they don't care who they fill it with, as long as that at night is filled, they've got people in there listening to music, yeah? Now, granted, with this, the singer might be amazing who sings to the backing tracks, but at the end of the day, they are backing tracks. In my view, it's not live music. They're great singers and stuff. For me personally, I want to hear a live band. But then, the bands come in at that level, of that price, are not that great either. So that's why they do it for cheaper. But that might be, you might have in that band, Bob the Builder on bass, Jeff, Gardiner on guitar, trying to think of names. Might have Dave the drummer, who does, what's the job beginning with D? Oh, I can't think. Anyway, even put in the comments the job beginning with D. Keith the keyboard player, who does, I don't know. And Steve the singer, who's a surgeon. Yeah. So, good luck to them as well. They're enjoying it. They've put their band together. And they're going around, like in England, like all the working man clubs, conservative clubs, British Legion clubs, and they're great little community places, and they have a stage and everything. And with them clubs, they want you to play a lot longer. So I think I used to do it, and it used to, when I was like 15, it used to be like 3:45s or 4:45s, I can't remember now. Put in your comments down below what it is these days. But I think a band, they might, they're going to give you £350, £400 if you're lucky. And that could be between 5 of you. So with them gigs, you're not going to earn a living, but you're going to get experience, you're going to have fun, you're going to play to an audience who are enjoying it. But say then you're competing with the singers who have got the backing tracks. Say I'd done them bands when I was like 15 to 17, like with blokes who was about 40. So good experience for me, and I thought, well, I'm getting paid for this, and that was great money for me as a kid back then. So I wasn't moaning. And the other gigs you can do, is, which I've done before, is a bit lonely, I call it musical wallpaper, is restaurant gigs. It's plotted up in a corner, playing guitar. You get a meal, a couple of drinks, a couple of £100, no egg, but no one's listening, but you know, it's not a bad deal, sitting in a corner, playing guitar. And what I do at them gigs, I used to practice, because 9 times out of 10, most people won't be listening. You get a couple of people that come up and go, oh, that's really nice what you play. And I was appreciative of that if people are listening. But, you know, let's face it, you're out for a meal. You might have a birthday party. So these people are not going to these restaurants to listen to your music. You just happen to be there. So you've got to realise that as a musician. Don't be precious about that. You're there to provide a service like the waiter is, the chef. You're there. They're not there to listen to you. So get over yourself with that. You're there to earn money. And it's not a bad little job to do if that's what you want to do. So that's them kind of gigs. So I'm talking gigs. I'm calling it a gig because I think there's a difference between a gig and a show. A show is where people come to watch you perform. Their main thing of the night is to go out and see you play. A gig is different. A gig is you're going to turn up in a place where there's a load of people who don't even know you're going to be there. Some will enjoy it. Some couldn't care less if you're there or not. But as long as you enjoy it, that's the main thing, yeah? So they're the two different ones. And then the ones where you can, in this day and age, it's changed. Like from even 20, 30 years ago, there was more gigs out there. And I dare say 20, 30 years ago when I started doing it, there's even more gigs. Back in the 60s, 70s and 80s, I started gigging in the 90s. But there was loads of gigs all in around London, little bars and stuff. But then back then I didn't need as much money to live, so I probably would have gone out and done them gigs a lot cheaper. Not that I can remember, and toured up and down the country. Yeah, so that's another thing. Touring around the country. It is exciting. I've done a lot of that when I was younger, but when you're out on the road for 14 hours of the day, and this kind of gig could be a tribute show or a theatre show, or it could be for a named artist who was big years ago, and they're doing the circuits like the Butlins 90s Weekenders, or you know, artists from 2 decades ago, but they're dotted all over the country. It could be a music venue where they've sold tickets. Now, I'll tell you the difference between these gigs. These gigs are great because you are playing then to an audience who are there for that kind of music. They're not there for you as the guitarist, or they're there for the artist who's singing. So they're normally a more pro setup, where they are. You get soundsmen there, engineers. I'm talking about named artists who was about, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago, and they've gone from up there to come down, but they're on the circuit still. And with these gigs, you might have a gig 300 miles away, and say you're getting paid 250 quid, 300 quid, even £200 people go out for, but you are out for 14, 15 hours of the day. Could even be more. And then if you stay over, then you've lost the next day. So when you're doing that kind of gig, you've got to think, if you divide up the hours you're out for, right, it doesn't add up. You're better off working in McDonald's. So before you take these gigs, decide if you're doing it because you want to do it for fun, basically, and you're going to get a bit of money. Because if you're doing it to earn a living, it doesn't add up like with the hourly rate when you divide it up. It's all right if you get one local half hour away and they go, oh yeah, we've got this gig here, it's 250 quid. And you think, oh, sound check's at 6 o'clock, be done by 10 o'clock. Yeah, I'll have some of that. That works out. But when you've got to leave at midday and you're not getting into 2 o'clock in the morning and you've got a gig the next day you've got to get up for, that's hard graft. Do you know what I mean? So it looks fun when you're up on stage for them couple of hours, which it is, but the bit around it for that money is hard work. So that's them kind of gigs, say, are with named artists who have been up there, come down bits, they're not as popular, and tribute shows, theatre shows, which go around the country. So they're nice gigs because people are there to watch the music. So that is the trade-off. You're not getting as much money, but what you are getting is an audience who are in front of you, who are there for that evening, what you're creating. Whereas if you're just playing in a bar or in a working man's club, you might get a group who love it and they get up and have a dance. So it's a different kind of gig like that. And the other gigs, which, as I say, I've got jumped off a bit, is wedding work. Wedding work, there's good money in that if you are running the show. If you're the band leader and you're the one who gets the gigs in, you know, and you're in with wedding venues, you're having a good time money-wise. You can pay musicians good money. Some people don't. They keep it all for themselves, which is, you know, if you're the business owner, but you've got to pay a fair wage, I think, for what a musician's worth. Because I've learned that over the past. Yeah? Different video. What do you want? That's one of my oldest son. He didn't want to speak on it. So where was I? Yeah, weddings. If you're running a wedding band, you are entitled to earn more money because you've got to deal with the bride and the groom throughout the year. And some of these people can get stressed, which is fair enough, they're having a wedding. But basically, if you're putting on the entertainment for them, it's their big day, right? So you got the pressure of they want the best day of their life. So it's not a gig where you're just turning up playing for people who, oh, there's a band in the background, oh, there's a musician, or they've gone to a show or an event because they know what they're getting as well. But when you're putting on a thing for a wedding, a couple, their expectations is whoosh, through the roof. They say stuff to you like, oh, we want everyone up dancing. We want everyone to have a great time. Can you do that for us? We don't want to see no bums on seats. Now, you can't guarantee that because not everyone wants to dance. So pressure-wise, that is a hard gig because if they book you or they book a singer that they've seen who is with you, they expect that singer to turn up. But people get ill. Musicians dep out gigs. What I mean by that, they put someone else in. So it might not be the person who they want turning up. Touch wood, it's never happened to me because I do pay my musicians enough money so they won't go off somewhere else. So that's the other key. You've got to pay your musicians what they are worth, because if they get another gig coming, you know, you could offer them a gig, say, I don't know, 150 miles away for 250, 300 quid, sounds good. But then they might get a gig coming which is half hour away for the same money, you know, 10 miles down the road. Could be take that long to get there if there's traffic. So if you pay the musician what you think it's worth for you to go to the gig, then they normally are reliable and, what's the other word? Is it faithful? Like if you look after them, then they'll look after you back. But same with any business. If you're not going to look after the people who's working for you or who you are hiring, then why should they look after you back? So yeah, so they're wedding gigs where you turn up, and these gigs are hard, right? Because when you do a wedding gig, you get to the venue. So what I used to do the daytime music, and then I'd do the evening and the DJ all thrown in. So they'd have a band in the evening. But what happens is they're normally in a big old barns, probably the same in America, in a big room. And then they have their speeches. We normally have our speeches at the end of the meal. And then they've got to turn the room around. And they might run late with their speeches. You got to remember, the bride and groom have never done this before. Well, I've done weddings where people got married 3 times, but you got to remember they're ignorant to the fact that they don't know how it works. It's their first time. Like when you first get married, it's like, whee, it's like you just go along like a roller coaster. But they might have had tables set up at the back of the room because they might have wedding where there's 200 people, and they might, the staff have got to clear them tables. Then they've got to clean it out from the floor of all the mess. Then you can finally get in with the band and start setting up your gear. But then you might get the video man come, or the videographer, and the photographer going, oh, do you reckon we'll be starting by 8 o'clock, 7:30, because that's what I'm contracted to be here till. And you're like, nah, mate, it's like 7:45. We ain't going to be ready to go. Like, you got to at least give yourself 45 minutes, especially when you're setting up PA lights. I mean, that's a quick turnaround and a quick sound check. And that's the difference between the other work. If you go back down, an amateur band, you can sound check for a couple of hours. I'm talking like, you might have 10, 15 minutes to make sure all the levels are right through the PA and the vocals and stuff. So you're on a time limit, because that wedding venue, they don't care if you're on later, because the venue might only be allowed to play music to 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock. So whatever time you start, you've still got to finish at their finish time, which we would anyway, because say it's work and you've got to pack all your gear down and get home. You might be travelling 2-3 hours to get home. So while everyone's having a great time going to bed 20 minutes later, you're still packing up, loading up the car. You've got motorways, which 9 times out of 10 they're doing road work, so you go on a detour. So wedding gigs are stressful if you are one in charge. If you're not, they're not quite an easy gig. You just turn up, play your guitar well or whatever instrument, and then you go home, and you got to pay quite a decent gig. Next gigs are promoting your own ones. Now, this is totally different from all that stuff I've just spoke about then. This is more being an artist. And this takes a lot of effort, but the rewards are you're playing against an audience who want to be there. And if you sell enough tickets, you can earn decent money as well, with a wage to go, yeah, do you know what? I played to a great audience and I have played and got paid, right? Now, when people do these shows and you see them on Facebook or whatever moaning about, I don't think with the arts, with music, you should get grants and stuff like that, because like, look at jazz music, right? In the 1920s up to 1960s, that was its popular music. That was its heyday, yeah? And I love all that stuff, like all the, Blue Note stuff and everything. But them clubs were busy back then. Them clubs now, the average age is probably, I don't know. I'd go to them still, but what I'm saying, I'm in the minority. You're talking to people in their 80s. Now, if people want to go to these places and pay, then it works then as a business. But as soon as people, if the ticket sales are not up and there's not enough money to pay for your fuel, for your accommodation, for your food, for it, it's done. That time's gone. People are not interested in that anymore, the majority. But so if you want to do it for the love of it. Like, don't, how many businesses get funded to stay open? I know it's an art and everything, but at the end of the day, it is a business. If you're in the negative all the time, then it's not really working, is it? And you've got to think about, well, what else can I do in music? There's other avenues, and that's what I've always done. You've got to think, well, what can work where I can get paid? Because, there's no point flogging something which is no one's interested in listening to, because it's just no point, I don't think. And that is the true reality of it. So if you're going to do shows, you want to do something where people want to keep coming back. They want to watch you play. And if you're happy to do it for nothing, that's great. And if you can get paid for it as well, that's even better. Now, other gigs, what I do is basically, do you know, like we said about them ones where we was talking about the earlier ones where people play for nothing and they're getting experience, but they're loving it, right? And then you get the other musicians who moan their head off about it. Oh, they shouldn't be doing that, they're lowering it. Well, don't take them gigs. Someone will always take them. But there is gigs I do which are fun like that. And the pay is a token gesture. Could be 50, 60 quid, 200 quid. But what you're doing on these gigs, you're playing with your mates, your musician mates. And there's there might be every area has a circuit of great musicians. And you turn up at a gig, you might be getting 50, 60, 70 quid. But the musicianship is amazing. So you're going to socialise with your musician friends, if they think you're your friends or not. You're there for the night. You're getting a bit of petrol money, you're getting your drink money, but you're having a great play. You are playing like you're a kid again, which is, I love them gigs more than anything. So basically, you've gone full circle. I've gone back to playing for virtually. I love playing for nothing or playing for a minimum wage if the music is great, because you're doing it for your soul then. You're doing it for your passion for music, which is what music is about and I love. And that's the difference between gigs. You get gigs where you get paid not much, but you're having the best time in the world. Then you can do gigs where you're getting great money, but it's boring. And that's like a day job, going to the office. I call that an office gig. And then obviously you've got the big, massive gigs where you could get on a big tour, which, having a family and 3 kids, I always wanted to be there so I could take the kids to school, pick them up from school, be there in the evenings and stuff. So, and I know that is a great life, being on the road. I've done a lot of touring and travelling around when I was younger. But for me now, it depends. If a massive artist come along and said, you want to do it? Of course, I'd love to do it. The experience would be amazing. I don't know so much about the money, what they pay these days. I suppose if you're a big name, you can command the money. But would I want to do that? I would, and I wouldn't, if that's the right answer. And it depends on the music you're playing, because the reason for this is you could get an opportunity where you're playing for a big artist, right? And they might have a tour for, I don't know, let's say 3 months, right? Or let's say 6 months. So you think, well, I know it's an opportunity. You're going all around the world, blah, blah, blah. You're doing this, you're doing that. But for me, what I've built up here would be ripped up and gone. It wouldn't be here anymore when I got back after 6 months. Well, you could pick stuff up. So that is the downfalls with that kind of work, unless you are super uber busy, which there's only a few which are. You could go away and then come back and you've got nothing. And I have done work like that before in the past when I'm younger. So basically it's a bit like just having one big massive client if you've got a company or something and they give you loads of work and all of a sudden like, right, we've done our tour for the next couple of years. Oh, okay, what do I do now? Go and find some other work and then we'll call you when we're ready to have you again. So, great work, but so unreliable on where your next meal's coming from, if that makes sense. And then a lot of these musicians who do them gigs, they do the gigs right down to the bottom when they're not doing the high profile ones. So they're back into the other circuits, or the food chain, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, it'd be cool to do. And you know, I've done a few things like that over the years. And you're basically, your life's dedicated to that artist for that amount of time. And then everything you want to do is put on hold. So I think nowadays it'd be nice, which my own game is, my goal and aim is to try obviously and get gigs where it is a show where people come in to watch you. So you're in control. But as I say, there's so many different gigs you can do. It's like doing session work as well. Recording, you know, you might get an artist in the studio and they call you and they need you there. Like, oh, we need this track done. And then you don't hear from them again for months or even a year or so. So, yeah, basically all the work's different. And if you want to do music as a career, you've got to be thick-skinned. You've got to be able to take, if people don't call you, all them kind of things, because it is quite a hard, volatile industry. And if you're getting into it for just doing it for fun, do it, because you have so much fun. You can do so many gigs for nothing or little pay and get experience and just enjoy playing music. Like, as I said, what I do for the little small paid gigs, but I'm playing with in a little pole of great musicians. So, but whatever your level, them musicians will be great for you. And then that's the best way to get out there and do it. It's just don't put it off and think, oh, I'm not ready for it yet. Because you'll never be ready. When are we ever ready for anything? You've just got to go, do you know what? Sod it, I'm going to go for this. Book a gig, be scared, be nervous, muck up, which you could do. Who cares? If you're not getting paid much or you're not getting paid any money, you're doing it to work on yourself, for you to know what to do better next time. The only time you've got to worry about that, if you're getting paid a decent wage for a gig, then obviously it doesn't matter what the gig is, you still want to do your best performance, but always have that at the back in your mind. Oh, they're not paying me as much as blah, 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 or I'm not getting paid, and that'll help keep the pressure off then. So anyway, that's enough of my gig ramblings. See you soon, and if you like it, join my Patreon down below where I'll offer loads of lessons and stuff. See you later. Bye.